What's up, guys? Here we are. I'm back again. Back this time to do a full event recap of UFC Vegas 24. That was Robert Whittaker taking on Kelvin Gastelum, a fight that was 2 years in the making. It ended up being a great fight. It wasn't the back and forth fight that many wanted, that many hoped for, that many thought it would be. But we did get to see Robert Whittaker go out there and put on a 5-round clinic, winning 50-45, basically every single round on every single judge's scorecard. And it was a show-out fight for Robert, you know. You got to feel a little bit sorry for Kelvin Gastelum, but at the end of the day, the MMA game is brutal and the best man usually wins. As we are sports bettors, we know that the best man doesn't usually win, and a good bet doesn't always win, and a bad bet doesn't always lose. But at the end of the day, we got to see a great fight in the main event, and we got to see Robert do his thing. So I'll basically be going through the whole card as I usually do. And because this is a betting channel, okay, I love MMA. I love watching MMA. But more than that, I love making money on MMA. And I've been doing that now for multiple years. And as you guys know, I have a handicapping service where people make money with me. We're up crazy profits this year. We're up crazy profits last year, the year before that. I'm third-party tracked, independently tracked on betmma.tips, so I cannot fake my record. I'm seeing a lot of fakes out there these days, and I'm stressing to you guys now, please, if you follow any handicappers in the MMA game, make sure they are independently tracked on betmma.tips, okay? If they are not tracked, they are bullshit, okay? It's very easy to track your bets on a website which doesn't let you enter your bets after the fights, okay? So betmma.tips is the best one on the World Wide Web. Make sure anyone you are following is tracked on there, right? Because anyone can say what their record is. But if they're tracked, there's nowhere to hide. I just wanted to get that out there before I go through the event, because I've seen a lot of fakes and a lot of bullshit scam artists come up recently in an MMA betting game. And, you know, I don't want you to suffer one of them because, you know, people just don't know what to look for. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to go through the whole card. And as always, I'll go through each bet I had on the card as well. This was a pretty light slate for me personally and all my members. We didn't have too many bets on this card because I just wasn't comfortable putting my money in too many positions. But we ended up profiting 7 units. So it was one of the better cards of the year, to be honest, even though I didn't have too many bets on it. So, you know, without further ado, we'll get straight into it. And we'll talk about the first fight of the night. And I've got quite a lot to say about this fight. You know, there's multiple different angles I want to hit this fight at. And one of the first angles is I want to say that if you guys have been following me for the last few months, right, I've been telling you consistently on my main card and preliminary card breakdowns that I put out on my YouTube channel before each UFC card, I put out my predictions and my breakdowns for either the prelim or the main card. And I've been saying consistently for the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, that I believe that this year, 2021, and it could even go back to last year, but what I've been noticing this year is that the first fight of the night is usually an absolute banger of the night. I feel like the UFC chooses the first fight of the night carefully. I feel like they want to start the event off with a bang. And I feel like a lot of the times, a good bet for the first fight of the night is the under 2.5 rounds or the fight does not go to decision. I think that's a solid bet. And it has been cashing quite often this year in 2021. And a lot of times it's been cashing at plus money. So that might be an angle you want to look at. You know, I'm kind of like beating a dead horse because the thing is I keep saying it. And I don't know if anyone's like taking advantage of that. If you have, please hit me up in the comments. Please send me a DM or something. Tell me that you've, or, you know, put a comment on the YouTube video saying, thanks, James. I have been cashing on this because I sure have. And I cashed on it again here. So I'll just touch on the bets I had on this fight, right? The first bet I had was actually a parlay between Tony Gravely, who won, and Julia Budd on the Bellator card, which was the day before on Friday. Now, I don't think Julia Budd deserved the win there. She pulled an absolute stunt, one of the biggest stunts I've ever seen. And I feel like Dania Silva, who her opponent was, deserved to have the win there. So I was very lucky, or I feel like I was pretty lucky to get that Julia Budd decision. But, you know, as I always say, you know, I'm as transparent as they come. I bet on Julia Budd. I admit it was a bad bet. And I don't think Julia Budd should have won the fight. You know, I feel like I should have lost that bet. But at the end of the day, I've been in this sports betting game for over 10 years now. And I know that over the long term, these wins and losses, these bad decisions, these bad beats, bad judges, random injuries, luck, good luck and bad luck always comes back around. So it always evens itself out in the end if you are in it for the long game, right? If you just come into the game and you bet for 2 months, you might have loads of good luck, and you think you're a great bettor, but maybe you've just been on the side of some good luck. But if you're in it for the long haul, these good decisions and bad decisions, basically good luck and bad luck, will always even itself out. And let me tell you now, I've been on the wrong end of some terrible decisions this year and some terrible bad luck this year. So I'll definitely take that Julia Budd win. But at the end of the day, I don't think we should have won that one. But we did. So Tony Gravely, Julia Budd cashed for us. And I also had Tony Gravely to win inside the distance at -110. That cashed as well. I thought he was going to cash in the first round. I'm kind of happy it didn't, because I was looking at that Gravely first round prop bet at +350. I almost pulled the trigger on it. I decided to just go with the inside the distance instead, because Gravely is kind of like a grinding fighter, right? He's a wrestler at heart. So he'll take you down, he'll pound you out. And a lot of times, them type of fighters, they get second, third round stoppages because their game is wearing on you, right? Their game is basically to wear on their opponent. So oftentimes it doesn't come in the first round. So that was the reason why I didn't opt for the first round prop bet. And, I was happy because obviously we got to cash and I wouldn't have to go through that heartache if I was holding a first round Gravely ticket, because Gravely should have won that fight in the first round. I mean, it could have been stopped a couple of times, to be honest, but I feel like the referee stopped that fight pretty late. I do think it probably should have been stopped in the first round. Anthony Burchek was getting hit with some shots on the feet. He got dropped multiple times, and on the ground, Gravely was having his way with him, landing heavy shots. Anthony Burchek, he's a fighter, he definitely never gave up in that fight, but sometimes the referee needs to save the fighters from themselves, and that's what their job is, right? And I do think the referee, I think it was Chris Tognoni, so it's no surprise there. I may be wrong, but, I feel like that was a bit of a late stoppage. But basically, Gravely kind of dominated that fight. He was in a tight guillotine at one point, and I did think that, Burchek maybe would get the tap. But sometimes with these camera angles, it's kind of hard to tell exactly how tight the choke is and, how the fighter is responding to the choke. But it looked like Gravely was in some sort of trouble. But, his submission defense is pretty high level. I know he's been subbed multiple times. I think five of his 6 losses have been submission losses. But as I said on my preliminary card breakdown, I gave you guys a free bet. I gave you guys Tony Gravely inside the distance. I said that on my preliminary card breakdown. And what I said was that I know his submission defense is good, but it might not seem that way because he's been subbed 5 out of 6 times. But the fighters he's been subbed by are high-level fighters, and most of them high-level grapplers. So, yeah, Gravely done well there. He, one moment of trouble, but at the end of the day, if you can see here, total strikes is the top one. He doubled him up on strikes, 61-30, doubled him up on significant strikes, 39-18, 4 takedowns. I mean, complete domination in reality by Tony Gravely. And, he done what exactly I expected he would do. He was a -300 favorite when I bet him. He went to a -360 favorite by the time the fight went on. So we got closing line value there, as we always do with almost every single one of our bets. And yeah, man, it just goes to show that this first fight of the night might be an angle you want to look at. I'm giving away some free secrets, man. And I've been doing it for the past 6 to 12 weeks. So I hope you've been cashing in because I definitely have. So look, we'll go on the next fight of the night now. They need to give Gravely a step up now because they gave him a step down there. I mean, I don't really know why. It is what it is. I think Burchek just needed a fight because that Santos or whoever he was fighting pulled out a few weeks ago. But, Gravely fought De Freitas, who's a better fighter than Burchek in my opinion. So give Gravely a step up now. He's a solid fighter and he's not even ranked. He's not even in the top 20 in the UFC's bantamweight division. So give him a step up now. Let's see if he can break through. Okay, the next fight now we had Austin Hubbard versus Dakota Bush. A lot of people were kind of shitting on Austin Hubbard because, he was fighting against a short notice opponent and he couldn't get the finish after Bush gassed. But I feel like that's a little bit, it's a little bit of a what's the word? It's a little bit underhanded to say that to Austin Hubbard. You know, I feel like a lot of people saying that were people that bet Austin Hubbard inside the distance, and they was obviously annoyed that he didn't cash inside the distance because he definitely had chances to. But the thing about it is that Austin Hubbard basically dominated the fight after the first round, right? And he I mean, look at the total strikes there, guys. It's 126 to 54. You know, I mean, significant strikes 67 to 41. Unanimous decision on 3-round on all judges' scorecards. Dakota Bush isn't a terrible fighter. He was coming from the LFA scene, just like Austin Hubbard used to be. So he's not a terrible fighter. He starts hard. He's a good grappler. So, you know, I felt like Austin Hubbard done well there. He got the decision win, unanimous decision. It wasn't really close. You know, maybe he could have pushed for the stoppage, but you know, a lot of times when you push for the stoppage, you make mistakes out here. And at the end of the day, every fight is different, right? Max Holloway is a fighter who doesn't, you know, necessarily push for the stoppage. I guess I shouldn't say that. What I mean to say is Max Holloway is often a guy who goes to decision, right? He's got a lot of decisions on his record. And if he was a 3-round fighter, he would have a lot more decisions on his record. For example, that Ortega fight would have been a decision, right? I know the Aldo fight, he KO'd him in round 3, but both times. But I mean, who knows how that fight would have gone if it was 15 minutes? Aldo would have fought possibly differently, right? He might have gassed out. He might not have gassed out as much. Now, he probably would have, but I'm just saying that, you know, Max Holloway is one of the best fighters in the UFC right now, and he's not necessarily, you know, a fighter that's always going out there getting stoppages. So everyone's got different games, and, you know, I'm not going to say anything bad about Austin Hubbard. He got a unanimous decision win. Shout out to Austin Hubbard. Now we want to see Austin Hubbard obviously not fight a guy coming in on short notice. I would like to see Dakota Bush in there with a full camp. I feel like he was doing very well in the first round up until he kind of gassed, and then he obviously fell off a bit of a cliff. But he still hung in there. He was still a tough guy. You know, at the end of the day, Austin Hubbard's not a finisher. But if you're not as tough as Dakota Bush, you will get stopped. Austin Hubbard got a stoppage 2 fights ago, you know, against Max Rushkoff, you know, because he just couldn't handle the heat of Austin Hubbard. So shout out to Bush coming in on short notice. You know, he's speaking a lot about this was his dream to fight in the UFC. And, you know, he got it there. Wasn't on the right side of the decision. But hopefully we'll see him again. And we'll go on to the next fight. Bartosz Fabinski versus Gerald Meerschaert. I'll just hit up the chat here quickly. Shout out to Brandon McDonald. Thanks for watching. Brandon's a good guy, man. You're always in here, so I appreciate the support. Hit the like button if you haven't. Anyone watching this, please hit the like button as well. Brandon's saying that guillotine had my butthole puckering. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I don't really know that word puckering, but I think my butthole was doing the same because, yeah, it looked like a little bit tight. And you can never really tell with the angle, with the camera angles. And by the way, for anyone watching, he's obviously talking about the Gravely guillotine. Well, Gravely was in a guillotine from Anthony Burchek. And, you know, I think one of the commentators said, sorry, guys, I'm mixing my words a little bit here because I'm trying to get this video out a little bit quickly. But yeah, I think one of the commentators said while the guillotine was happening, I can't remember who it was. It may have been Bisping or someone. They said, oh, he thought about tapping. And when he said that, I was like, oh, shit, did he? Like, I didn't see that. Did he really think about tapping? You know, and then you start getting worried. But yeah, he did his thing Gravely. Brandon saying he had Gravely in a couple of parlays and all over DraftKings. Nice work, man. That was a solid spot. Brandon saying good to see Hubbard back in the winning side. Yeah, man, for sure. He had a tough time out against my boy Joe Gracie last time. And yeah, he is good to see him back in the W column for sure. He's a good guy, man. Anyway, Bartosz Fabinski versus Gerald Meerschaert. Man, I'm annoyed at myself here because in hindsight, it seemed to be an easy cash. And, you know, I was leaning Meerschaert. I mean, I wasn't leaning Meerschaert. Again, I predicted Gerald Meerschaert to win via submission on my YouTube channel. So as I say, every week I come on it and I'm giving out solid bets. I mean, that was like plus 290 or plus 250, depending on where you shop Gerald Meerschaert via submission. And it was a pretty easy pick for me, you know. I really should have just bet Gerald Meerschaert, but I wouldn't have bet him straight because he doesn't know how to win the decision. He only really knows how to win by submission, you know. So I actually did have a bet on this fight. I had Gerald Meerschaert to win in round 3 at like something like plus 1,200. I should have just gone Gerald Meerschaert to win inside the distance. You know, I should have really just gone Gerald Meerschaert to win via submission, but I didn't want to put too much money on it. I didn't want too much exposure to this fight. So I thought I'd just go for a huge prop odds shot and be able to play a plus 1,200 line for a lot less money to win the same money as if I was playing a plus 290 line, right? I have to put a lot less money on the line to earn the same amount of money I would if I was betting on a plus 290 line, right? So that's the reason I went for the round 3. Obviously, it happened in round 1, so I was 2 rounds too late, or it came 2 rounds too early. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with my read. My read was perfect. I said, Meerschaert in round 1 by a guillotine or Das. So, I mean, there we go. Meerschaert done well there. It was a tailor-made matchup for him, in my opinion. So we didn't learn too much about Meerschaert. We didn't learn too much about Fabinski get stopped. I think it might have been for the 3rd time in a row now, or I think it's the 2nd time in a row. I think he was stopped one fight before that as well. But yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say about this fight, guys. It's good to see Gerald GM3 back in the win column after 2 devastating KOs. One by Ian Heinisch in the 1st round. The 2nd one by Khamzat Chimaev in about 16, 17 seconds. So it's good to see GM3 back in the win column. It definitely meant a lot to him because you could see the way he celebrated. And in his post-fight interview, he was very humble there. And he admitted he just wanted to be back in the win column. So I'm happy for him there. And yeah, I mean, just annoyed that I didn't, bet the submission prop because that's what I gave out on the channel. But anyway. The next fight here, this was a bit controversial. Jessica Penne came back from a 4-year hiatus to fight Lupita Godinez. And yeah, I had another bet here. Extremely small bet, quarter of a unit bet, guys. Just wanted a little bit of action on another huge prop bet. So, my betting philosophy a lot of the time is if I'm not extremely confident laying the money line, then what I'll do is I'll look for some prop odds, right? I always look at the money line first. It's the first thing the bookies show, right? It's the first thing you look at. And it's the first thing that you should be looking to play, in my opinion, because it comes with the least variance of any other bet, right? Any prop bet or any parlay inherently has way more variance than the straight money line play, right? So the straight money line play is, quote unquote, the easiest bet you can make, or the bet with the least variance. And you want as little variance as possible in sports betting. So what I usually do is look at the money lines. If I don't agree with any of the money lines, if I kind of do agree with the money lines, which means I won't play them if I don't see any value on the line, then I look for some prop bets, right? And, I didn't agree with the money line here. I thought probably it should be lined a bit closer, but just because it's lined incorrectly, it doesn't mean I'm automatically going to play the line, right? I know a lot of people will tell you that. They'll tell you that if a betting line is lined incorrectly, you should be taking advantage of it and playing it or playing against it, depending on where it's lined and where the value lies, right? So I did think Jessica Penn, I didn't think Lupita Godinez should be minus 300 or above. Let's put it that way. I thought you could make her like minus 200 or something. But my philosophy is not to instantly bet the line if it's incorrect, right? I will bet the line if it's incorrect a lot, but not instantly. I'll look at the fighter first. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of variance in MMA betting specifically. So when I looked at Jessica Penne, even though I thought she should be a little bit of a closer lined underdog, I didn't want to put my money on Jessica Penne because she had been away from the sport for 4 years. We had seen her get starched by very high level competition, but she still had been starched, by punches, which is what Godinez is really good at. And, it's basically just a layoff, guys. She was 38 years old and coming off a 4-year absence. I didn't really want to put my money on Jessica Penne. So what I did instead was I paid a plus 300 prop bet, which was Lupita Godinez to win inside the distance. Now, she's a decision fighter, but she has heavy pop on the feet. And I think we saw that. And to be honest, I'm happy with my bet. As I said, guys, I'm super transparent. And my bet on Gravely and Bud, I said that was a bad bet. I'm not happy with that. Bud shouldn't have won. The bet against Gerald Meerschaert, that was a bad bet as well. I was happy with my read on that fight, but that was a bad bet. With this bet, I'm not ready to say it was a bad bet. I mean, it wasn't a great bet, but I felt like for plus 300, the amount of times Jessica Penne got rocked, it was enough for me to justify a plus 300 line, right? And as I say, I didn't want exposure on it. I guess what I'm saying is I'm happy kind of with my take on this fight, as opposed to, I guess I'd like to have laid Jessica Penne, but I just didn't trust her. Anyway, this fight could have gone either way. A lot of people were saying Godinez should have won. I think a lot of them people did have Godinez tickets. I thought Godinez did enough to get the decision, but I can see why the judges scored it for Jessica Penne. She didn't do much with the control, but I mean, it's kind of strange because if you look here, the total strikes, she had a lot more strikes. So her output was a lot more, right? But she wasn't landing with the hard shots like Godinez was. So again, I'm not going to say too much about this fight. I don't think this was daylight robbery like a lot of the people are calling for. But I do think Godinez done enough to get the decision there. So, it is what it is. Jessica Penne kind of, I'm not going to say she hands a vet lesson to Godinez, but she definitely put a lesson on her, right? She basically told her that you're not just going to come into the UFC and just like put hands on these people. We're going to clinch you. We're going to grab you. We're going to push you up against the fence. We're going to jump on your back. We're going to always be there. We're going to be pumping out volume, even if it is junk volume, even if I've been away from the sport for 4 years. So Godinez definitely should have learned a solid lesson in that fight. But as I say, probably should have gone her way. Right. So, Jessica Penn, match her up with someone decent, but I mean, she's kind of, I'm not going to say she's done, but she's obviously not done. She's beaten fighters out here that are a lot younger than her, but she's not going to do too much in the UFC. And Godinez, decent prospect. She still can grow, but she's got some learning to do for sure. The next fight was Alexander Romanov versus Juan Espino. Now, this was funny because this fight, me and Luke from SWR Betting, I done a 40-minute breakdown of this fight, right? Me and Luke. And it got over 1,000 views. So it was my biggest viewed video on YouTube. And it was kind of funny because these guys have probably less than 40 minutes worth of tape between them. But me and Luke managed to talk for 40 minutes about this fight. We ended up capping this fight 55% to Espino, 45% Romanov. So very, very closely lined fight. I didn't end up taking a shot on Espino. Very happy with that because I dodged an absolute bullet here. I think if you're going by the rules, you have to give Espino the fight. But again, I'm not super ready to call it a daylight robbery. I am ready to say that it was a bad decision. I do know why they gave him the decision. So basically, this fight, the whole talk about this fight was Romanov getting kneed in the balls by Espino in the third round and not being able to continue. A lot of people are calling him like Aljamain Sterling or Aljamain Romanov, Alexander Sterling, because people were saying that he faked the nut shot. Obviously, he didn't fake the nut shot. I mean, he got hit in the nut, but did he fake the aftermath? Look, I'm not here to say whether a fighter faked the aftermath or not. It's kind of hard to tell. He probably did, though. I mean, are you really? Because that took ages for him to get better. And to be honest, even when the judges were reading out the scorecards, he still wasn't better. So is their nut shot really going to hurt you for 15, 20 minutes? Because that's how long it went on for. That's how long. Like, are you really going to be limping after 15, 20 minutes? I mean, we see bad nut shots almost every single UFC event. And that never happens, So, it has happened before. We saw it in the Raymond Daniels versus Peter Stanonik first fight. We've seen it in Tyrell Fortune versus Jack May. So, we have seen it happen. But, I mean, did Romanov look for a way out? It's possible. He was gassed to fuck. But it was a shit show of a fight, And, yeah, I mean, not too much to say about this, guys. I mean, they should have given Romanov, Espino the decision, right? Because basically what happened was Alexander Romanov came out hot. He did pretty well in that first round, but he got taken down with that judo throw or whatever it was, a little trip. And Espino managed to get top control for about a minute and ended the round there. So you should really give Espino that round, right? Obviously, a couple of the judges gave the round to Romanov because he put some more damage on Espino before Espino got top control. But I don't think the damage was so significant that it outweighs Espino taking him down, getting top control, and Romanov not being able to get up to his feet, because I do feel like, a lot of people are not in the same boat as me, but I do feel like if you get taken down and you can't get back up, that should be scored. I know they're saying now that, like, if you take someone down, you have to score damage. And I do agree with that, but I also feel like there shouldn't be like zero score if you take someone down and just don't do much damage, because at the end of the day, you still took them down. You were still able to control them. You still was able to get some position and they wasn't able to get up. It's a fight at the end of the day. You're pinning them down against their own will, right? You're controlling them. They're doing their best to get up and they still can't do it because you're not letting them. How is that not scored? I mean, it's stupid. I understand that maybe you don't score it so much and effective striking and damage should take more precedence, but I don't understand just completely not scoring it. Like, for example, in that fight, in the first round, I don't think Romanov done enough on the feet to just completely dismay or just to completely overrule Espino, flipping him, landing on top of him, getting top mount, getting in control, and Romanov can't even get up to his feet. I think that should count for something. I think I might be in a slight minority here because a lot of people, they don't really respect the grappling art as much as the striking, right? Because it's not worldwide known, everybody knows a punch in the face, everybody knows a kick in the face, like it's kind of inbred into culture in general, just fighting. And fighting typically is with the fist. If you have a fight in school, you throw punches. Obviously there might be some grappling, but what I'm saying is boxing, punching, that is kind of worldwide known, right? But grappling, getting top mount, going from side control to half guard to full mount, that's not really widely known, right? So I feel like it's just respected less. So that's why I'm probably in a minority and most people just want to see damage. Anyway, it's a little bit of a rant there, but I feel like Espino should have got the decision. But again, I can see why the judges score it. So I'm not going to call it a robbery because I do understand the angle, even though I don't agree with the angle. But I think it was fairly clear that Espino won. And to be honest, it is kind of half borderline in on a robbery. So anyway, the first round that happened, second round, that was Romanov's round. And it came down to the third round. And Espino was clearly winning the third round. I will say, though, might be a bit of a hot take because I feel like everyone is not agreeing with me on this. But I think a lot of times, I think that's mainly because people bet Espino here, right? But anyway, people are saying that Espino would have definitely won that third round, right? Nah. Let me tell you something. Espino was more gassed than Romanov in this fight, right? They was both very gassed, but Espino was like 95% gassed. Romanov was like 92% gassed, right? So they were both fucked, but I think Espino was even more fucked. Espino came out as hard as possible in that third round because he knew he needed to get top control. Otherwise, he's going to get fucked up because he was gassed out, right? So he comes out hard, blowing his wad. His wad's already gone, but he's blowing his last 5%. Romanov gets taken down by him, but he gets back to his feet. Espino's dragging him, trying to take him down again. And that's when the nut shot happens, right? So let me tell you something now. A lot of people out there saying, Espino was dominating the third round. He would have won the third round. Man, the third round is 5 minutes long, not 1 minute long. This third round went on for 1 minute and 5 seconds. If he wasn't able to get control on Romanov, which, to be honest, it didn't look like he was because he looked like Romanov kept getting back up to his feet. I mean, Romanov did kept getting back up to his feet. Now, he could have got top control, but he also definitely might not have been able to. And then Romanov would have taken over that round. Trust me, if Espino wasn't able to take him down, Romanov would have taken over that round. You could just see it playing out. So I know a lot of people like to say, Espino would have dominated that round. Let me tell you something now. A round is 5 minutes and not 1 minute. So, yeah, I don't agree with that. So that is a bit of a hot take I have there. Anyway, it is what it is. The decision should have went to Juan Espino. Juan Espino definitely could have won the fight if he got top control, but I just don't think it was a formality. And because I see almost every single person saying it was a formality, I want to put that out there. Yeah. It is what it is, man. That was a shit show of a fight, to be honest, and it was a bad look for the UFC. So let's move on. Luis Pena versus Alexander Munoz. So I was looking to bet Pena, but then I was like, no, I can't do it. Pena always lets me down personally, but he just kind of, he's a bit of a letdown, right? He looks on tape like he should win, and then he just goes out there and kind of shits the bed like he did against Kama Worthy, or he just doesn't win the fight. He hasn't got that knockout power, so even though his striking's good, doesn't put people away. And if he doesn't put people away, he ends up kind of just somehow losing. Anyway, he won this fight via split decision. I feel like Alexander Munoz should have won the fight. I mean, Munoz fairly clearly won the first 2 rounds, but to be honest, I wasn't watching this fight super clearly because I was posting on Instagram for my service, Lucrative MMA. So I wasn't watching this fight super in depth, like I'm always super honest with you guys. I wasn't completely fixated on this fight, but to me, I mean, I still watched the fight, man. To me, it seemed like Munoz won the first 2 rounds, and Pena came on strong in that 3rd round. But I mean, just because you come on strong in the 3rd round, this is not pride. You shouldn't win the fight. But I don't have a huge take on it, but I do think Munoz should have won the fight. Pena is still on my fade list. I'm glad I didn't take the shot to fade him here because I would have been fuming because I feel like that was a bad decision. The judges have terrible decisions. So Jessica Penne versus Godinez, right? That was kind of a bad decision. Romanov Espino, that was a bad decision. That was the fight after. The fight after was Pena Munoz. That was a bad decision. And the fight after was Cortez Kish. That was a controversial decision as well. So, I mean, the judging was also awfully terrible. And so luckily, for one of the first times that I can remember, I wasn't involved in any of the bad judging. So very happy about that. And as I say, the volatility, the variance, the good luck and the bad luck always levels itself out in the end. And I've been on the end of some bad luck this year, even though we're still up 24 units of profit, which is a great number. I'm extremely happy with it. Doing better than we was even doing last year. But even though I've been on, I'm winning so much this year, I've still been on the bad end of some bad luck this year. So, I feel like it's kind of coming my way now. I got that Bud decision. I avoided all of these bullshit decisions. So I feel like the luck's kind of on my way now. So very happy about that. But yeah, Munoz is still on my, Pena's still on my fade list. I'm definitely looking to fade him. But it's a weird one because he's a good fighter. He's got all the skills. He's got the tools, but he just doesn't put it all together in the octagon. Then the next fight we had is Tracy Cortez versus Justine Kish. I know a lot of people are super high on Tracy Cortez here. Man, look, I'm happy I didn't bet it. So again, this fight, I broke. Did I break this fight down? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I broke this fight down on my card breakdown last week. I think I did a preliminary card breakdown, but I thought this was going to be on the prelim card, so I still broke it down anyway. And I gave out Tracy Cortez to win via decision, and that's exactly what she did. So again, as I say, I'm consistently giving out free prop bets that are cashing in every week. So definitely subscribe to my channel and watch these videos that come out every week if you're not, because there's some good bets you can get in them anyway. But anyway, I didn't bet on it myself, and I'm very happy because, again, this was another split decision. And the fight could have gone either way. To be honest, I thought Cortez did enough to win the fight, so I agree with the decision. But I can see why they would score it for Kish. I think it was the first... Was it the second and the 3rd round? Was it first and the 2nd round? I don't know. It was 2 rounds where Kish definitely had an argument to win the fight. So if you look at the strikes here, they're pretty similar: 84 to 72, significant strikes 66 to 55. The takedowns, obviously Cortez dominated the takedowns there, 3-0. Actually, just thinking of it, it was the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Kish could have done enough to win, but Tracy Cortez clearly had that 1st round. And yeah, I don't know how they're scoring at 30-27 for Cortez, because I thought one of them rounds clearly Kish won. I think it was the 2nd round. Yeah, I think 2nd round was a clear Kish round. Yeah, and I don't think anyone's really arguing with that. So, it's a bit strange to see a 30-27. But as I say, the judging was just terrible this event. And again, Tracy Cortez, I'm kind of annoyed that she won a split decision because she got half exposed there, and she is on my fade list. I almost faded her with Kish, but I couldn't do it, and I'm glad I didn't because I avoided another one. But she was on my fade list, just like Pena. And yeah, so I'm kind of annoyed she didn't go out there and just run through her, because now her price probably will reflect this poor performance in her next fight, obviously depending on who she fights. But Cortez can be beat, man. Trust me, guys. I know she's a super hot prospect in a lot of people's eyes, but I think a lot of that probably comes down to, the way she looks. She's a very beautiful girl. Now, I'm sure a lot of people rate her skill set. I rate her skill set. She's a good wrestler. She's a grinder. She's a good soldier, as my boy Z's MMA would say. But at the end of the day, she is a fade. She can be faded, right? And she will be faded by me shortly. Okay, give her someone who's got half decent get up ability, and this bitch is getting faded. No disrespect to Tracy Cortez. All right. Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Jacob Malkoon. Very annoyed at myself here because I almost bet Malkoon. Didn't bet Malkoon, so who cares? doesn't give a it doesn't matter what you almost did in sports betting, right? Doesn't fucking matter. It only matters what you pulled the trigger on. So I did want to fade Al Hassan, but seeing Malkoun knocked out like that, I'm like, no, I can't do it. Anyway, it is what it is, man. Jacob Malkoun goes out there and absolutely dominates Razak Al Hassan. He gets 8 takedowns out of 24 attempted takedowns. 24 attempted takedowns. Are you taking the piss? Oh my God, I didn't know that. 24 attempted. Guys, do you know, like, I don't know if you guys, I mean, I do this shit professionally. So I obviously watch tape, but I also watch through stats, right? I read stats. I don't think I've seen 24 attempted takedowns often. That is ridiculous. Is that right? 24 attempted takedowns. Al Hassan only attempted 47 significant strikes. Al Hassan only landed 21 significant strikes. Jacob Malkoun attempted more takedowns than Al Hassan landed significant strikes. God, anyway. Yeah, he just takes him down so many times and just dominates him, right? It was a great game plan to take the wind out of Al Hassan's sails in that first round. And, it paid dividends because Al Hassan gassed after the first round like he always does. And he seemed to get almost like not much get-up ability. He just got mauled in this fight, really. Malkoun I felt like Malkoun could have had the submission a couple times. I know a couple people had that Malkoun inside the distance, Malkoun via sub, Malkoun round 3 prop. If you're fighting a gasser, a lot of times a good angle is to play the round 3 prop of the opponent. So in this example, Al Hassan is a gasser, so Malkoun to win in round 3 is always a decent bet, right? Anytime you get a gasser, the other opponent to win in round 3 is not bad, but yeah, obviously it didn't come to fruition. Malkoun seemed more safe to stay position over submission, although he did go for quite a few submissions. But what he would do, I noticed, was let go slightly earlier than I guess you would do if you really wanted a submission in order to stay in position, right? So he'll go for a guillotine, but just when it's, getting a bit of a struggle to keep, he'll let go of the guillotine instead of selling out and just trying to choke him out. He'll let go of the guillotine and keep top position. So, Malkoun was very smart in that regard. He didn't want to lose position, but he still attempted submission. So if you did have a sub ticket, at least he tried for you. The most annoying thing is when you get a wrestler and you bet them by sub and they're just grinding the opponent out. They've got top position for like 3 rounds and they just don't even attempt subs because they just want to keep top position. That's the most annoying thing. So, but I guess also another annoying thing is the guy going for subs and just not getting them. So, I mean, I don't think I'm going to make you feel any better if you do had a Jacob Malkoun by sub ticket. But anyone who had Jacob Malkoun, that was an amazing bet, guys. One of the best bets of the evening. I'm going to actually come out and say now it was the bet of the evening, especially at the price. It was like a plus 200 or even better underdog. So the next fight we had, finally, I can talk about a bet I had. As I said, not many bets on this card, but this was one I was pretty heavily invested in. I had 2 units on the line in 2 separate bets. And I bet on the old man. I bet on the pitbull, Andrei Arlovski, 42 years old, still doing his thing out here, showing these young vanilla gorillas, showing these young guys lessons, man. Andrei Arlovski, we got to give a moment of silence for Andrei Arlovski. I'm going to do it right now. Anyone in the chat, anyone watching this video on the replay, let's just have a moment of silence for Andrei Arlovski. It's not going to be long. Let's just have 10 seconds for him because what a legend he is. Okay, we'll do 5 seconds. Man, Andrei Arlovski, what an absolute legend. This guy is 42 years old, still fighting in the heavyweight division. And he's still out here getting wins, man. And that's what I bet on. I bet on Andrei Arlovski money line at minus 140. I put 1.4 units to win 1 unit. That cashed. And I also put 0.6 units on Andrei Arlovski via decision at plus 175 to win 1 unit. That cashed. So I got plus 2 units on this fight overall. And I bet 2 units. I bet 2 units on it, and I won plus 2 units. So 100% ROI there. And yeah, it was a little bit sketchy in the first round, I guess, because Chase Sherman won the first round. It was a close round, back and forth. Arlovski might have been edging it. Sherman might have been edging it. It was a 50-50 round until Sherman landed a big shot. And Andrei Arlovski kind of backed up to the fence. And, he clearly lost that round. And so you're going into the second round, 1-0 down. It's not ideal, but Arlovski, he just did enough. He just did a bit more than Sherman. to win the fight, which is what he does in most of the fights he wins. You know, he never goes out there and completely dominates in the last five years. When has Arlovsky gone out there and dominated? But he ends up winning loads of fights. You know, he won against Sherman here. He beat Tanner Boza, Felipe Lins. He's got quite a few decision wins on his record in the last 5 to 10 years, 5 years. But he's never blowing anyone out of the water. You know, he's only just about winning. And, you know, the strikes and the significant strikes tell the tale of it here. He had 109 to 99 significant strikes, total strikes, sorry. So only 10 more strikes than Chase Sherman. And he only had, about 23 or something more significant strikes than Chase Sherman. But again, he puts out 109 strikes, 105 significant strikes. That's elite. That's pretty solid at his age to be putting out that many strikes at heavyweight. That's a solid number, man. And I'm going to keep betting Arlovsky all day if they're giving him, you know, fighters like Chase Sherman, you know, fighters just not on that level. Fighters like Chase Sherman just don't go out there and beat Arlovsky these days. You know, you need someone higher level than that. You need Jairzinho Rosenstrikes. You know, you need Tom Aspinall, you know, looks like a good prospect. People like that. And even Aspinall was having a tough time with Arlovsky towards the end of that first round. And that second round, Arlovsky was doing what he did to Chase Sherman. But Aspinall, you know, he's a good fighter, and he was able to get a takedown and get the rear naked choke. You know, he switched up the game. And maybe Chase Sherman should have gone for a takedown, but that's not Chase Sherman's game. He never does. Anyway, not much to say about this fight other than Arlovsky is still out here doing his thing. He's a gatekeeper for the heavyweight division, and that's no disrespect to Andrei Arlovsky, man. At 42 years old, especially with what he's been through, you know, he's fought everyone, man. He's even fought Ngannou. I'm pretty sure he fought Ngannou. Yeah, he did. But then he's fought like Alistair Overeem, and he's fought fighters back in the day in all types of organizations. He's an absolute legend of the game, man. I really like Andrei Arlovsky. I really respect the dude, man. And he said he wants to fight for a couple more years, so we're still going to see the Pitbull in there. And I'm excited to see him fight. And we know what we're going to get with Arlovsky now. So he's a good fighter to bet on, you know. As sports bettors, we want to bet on fighters that we know what they're going to do. Arlovsky's not going to come out here with a new game plan. Arlovsky's not going to come out here, you know, trying to be something he's not. He's going to try and outwork you. He's going to rush in like he does. His chin is there to be caught by a heavy puncher. He will be caught in that first round by heavy punchers, but, you know, he can be taken down. But Arlovsky, yeah, he's a great fighter to bet on or to bet against, depending on who he's fighting. Right, the next fight was the main event, Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum. This, as I said at the beginning of the breakdown or the beginning of the video, it wasn't like a great fight, but we saw Robert Whittaker go out there and completely dominate. You know, he won 5 rounds to none versus a very, very tough competitor in Kelvin Gastelum. And to be honest, I did think it was going to be a little bit closer than it was. I thought Kelvin Gastelum may have more moments than he did. I thought Gastelum would probably be able to hurt Whittaker at some point, just because we have seen Whittaker hurt multiple times in his recent fights. You know, he got hurt against Cannonier. He got hurt by Darren Till. He obviously got knocked out by Izzy, kind of got knocked out twice in that fight. So, yeah, I did think Gastelum might have some more success, but Rob seems to have hit another stride in his game, in my opinion. He seems to have kind of stepped up. And I don't know if that's just because he's fighting fighters who are kind of not on his level. Cannonier, Gastelum, that Till fight could have gone either way. But, you know, I'm excited to see him fight Izzy. Now, I don't know whether they should give him the fight straight away. You know, I would like to see Vettori versus Izzy, but I would just as much like to see Whittaker versus Izzy. Now, everyone has recency bias. So last week, a lot of people were saying, oh, yeah, Vettori should be fighting Izzy next. And now everyone's saying Whittaker should be fighting Izzy next, right? I don't mind, guys. You know, I don't have a huge camp. I'm not going to plant my flag on either side. It would seem like you should make Whittaker Izzy just because he fought Darren Till, he fought Cannonier, he fought Gastelum. You know, that's a higher caliber of competition than Vettori, right? But Vettori, you know, he beat Hermansson, he beat Hermansson, and then he beat Holland. But, you know, so the level of competition, definitely better on the Whittaker side. But the argument for a rematch without the level of competition is obviously on the Vettori side, because Marvin Vettori had a much closer fight than Whittaker did with Izzy, and it actually went to split decision. So you look, I wouldn't mind to see either of them go in there. I wanted to see Whittaker fight Izzy before this Kelvin Gastelum fight, but he wasn't calling for that fight. You know, you can go back and watch the interviews. Dana White, I know Dana White always talks bullshit, but I think he was telling the truth here when he said he offered Whittaker the fight and Whittaker didn't want to fight. I think that was true. You know, Whittaker, I think he was going through some personal issues. I'm not 100% sure, but Whittaker, after this fight, was like, Izzy, we need to fight. Let's talk. You know, give me a call. We should talk. I think I'm next in line. But the fight before that, I think it was after Cannonier or after Till. He didn't have that energy. He didn't have that same energy. He wasn't calling for that fight. But that was the time to make that fight, in my opinion. So I'm not against giving it to Vettori, because I feel like Rob could have had that shot before, and it seemed like he turned it down. I mean, that's what Dana said, and he didn't deny it. So I mean, I feel like he did turn that fight down. Anyway, I still want to see the rematch, of course, but I'm just saying I don't care if it's given to Vettori, because I know 90% of people out there are saying it should be given to Whittaker. And again, I completely understand if they give it to Whittaker. Both fights are going to be bangers. I can't wait to see the fight between both of them. You know, when I say both of them, I mean Whittaker and Izzy and Vettori and Izzy. And yeah, man, not much more to say. I've broken this down. I wanted to break it down pretty quickly. And yeah, as always, if you want to sign up with me to get my picks, which have been winning for the last 3 years now, I'm tracked on betmma.tips, so I cannot fake my record. You can just go to my website, and you don't even have to sign up. I've got a free tip section on my website where you can put your email address in, and I will send you free tips as and when I give them out. And I will send you, you know, updates on when my videos are out and stuff like that. Or just go to my website. You can check the packages. I've got different packages depending on how long you want to sign up for and all that good stuff. Anyway, I appreciate everyone watching. I'm going to catch up with the chat real quick before I leave. Hit the like button if you hadn't, because it really helps the YouTube algorithm. Anaconda Bet saying this bitch is getting faded. Oh, yeah. He's repeating what I said. Shout out to Tracy, man. Shout out to Tracy. It's just how people talk these days, you know. There's no disrespect there. Brandon McDonald saying Arlovsky fought pretty smart in his last two. Yeah, man. And that's what Arlovsky does. He's a smart fighter. I will say that he scares the fuck out of me when I've got a ticket on him, when he runs in with his chin up in the air. And look, man, correct me all you want. Arlovsky runs like an absolute lunatic. Like, he looks terrible, you know, when he does that. That's not good striking, guys. But it seems to work, you know. But by the way, he gets caught a couple of times. Aspinall half caught him when he did that. He can, I mean, Rosenstrike completely caught him when he did that and deaded his lights out. He can be caught when he runs through like that. So he needs to be careful. But at the end of the day, he is a smart fighter. Brandon McDonald saying Whittaker versus Adesanya is the next fight to make. Yeah, I mean, 90% of the world is on your side. And I kind of agree with you. As I say, though, I'm completely happy if they give it to Vettori as well. Brandon saying Vettori needs to beat someone like Costa before the title, in my opinion. That's fair enough. That's your opinion. I feel like because Vettori had a split decision, we have to remember that, guys, right? And that is worth something. Because Vettori had a split decision with Adesanya, and so one judge thought he won that fight. I think it's pretty clear Adesanya won 29-28. But anyway, he had a split decision, and he beat Hermansson. Hermansson was top 5 at the time. You know, Hermansson had just beat Kelvin Gastelum in a round. He beat Hermansson in a 5-round fight, and then he went out there and beat Kevin Holland in a 5-round fight. He was obviously scheduled to face Darren Till, which would have put him in title contention. But, you know, through no fault of his own, Darren Till had to pull out. So, you know, if Darren Till, you know, if Vettori would have beat Darren Till, then he would have, you know, I'm pretty sure you would be saying that he should fight or he could fight for the title, because Darren Till and Costa, they're kind of in the same range. You know, they're in the top 5 at least anyway. So I feel like because of all them circumstances, Vettori still is, you know, he is deserving of a title shot, but I also think Whittaker is as well. So I'm happy to see both of them fight. But anyway, shout out to everyone watching this. Thanks for being in the chat. And yeah, I'll be back in a couple of days with my main card breakdown for UFC 261. We've got Kamaru Usman versus George Masvidal, the rematch. We've got Andrade versus Shevchenko, which I'm excited for even more than the main event, Usman. And I'm also excited for the other women's fight, which is Who's fighting, guys? Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas. So I'm excited for that fight as well. So yeah, it is what it is. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment.